Hi, Rosie. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you're watching live and if you aren't, thanks anyway for coming. So tonight we're going to talk about the things that your cat wishes you knew. Now, Rosie is an APBC qualified pet behaviourist. The APBC are what I would consider the pinnacle of the organisations for pet behaviourists in the UK, and I won't send my patients to anybody else other than an APBC registered behaviourist, which is why I'm so pleased to be able to chat to Rosie. So Rosie, tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you based? And after this live stream, if people want to find out more information about you and what you do, where do they find you?
So I own and run Pet Sense, which is based in Bristol and North Somerset. And yeah, as you've already said, I'm a clinical animal behaviourist. So my website is www.pet-sense.co.uk, and you can find me and colleagues on the APBC website as well.
Fabulous, thank you so much. And if anybody doesn't know who I am, my name is Kat, and I am a small animal vet working in first opinion practice, which means that I see pets just like yours all the time. I have no specialist knowledge in behaviour, but it is a subject that I really enjoy. And I see a lot of cats coming my way who have got stress-related problems that are unfortunately often caused, not deliberately, but by the way they live, their environment, their home environment. I don't know about you, Rosie, but I sort of just think of cats as like tiny, self-centered megalomaniacs who don't really enjoy anybody else's company and are extremely selfish. How lovely though they are. Yeah. So what do you think about that description?
Well, some are, aren't they? And I think
that's very kind.
There's a whole range of cat personalities out there, and some breeds are a lot more sociable with people than others, as a bit of a stereotype in terms of breeds. But certainly, you know, cats are not what we call an obligate social species. So that means that they don't need to have other cats to make sure that their welfare needs are met. So humans and dogs would be what we class as obligate social species. So they need contact with conspecifics in order to meet their emotional needs and their welfare, whereas cats don't need that. And I think that's one of the things that cat owners often misjudge. They think that their cat would like a friend, and some cats do like cat friends, and they can get on very well, and they can be social within other cat community, small, but they don't need that. And that's often one of the misread signs, is that a cat is not happy coexisting with another cat. And the signs that they use to communicate that as well, the visual signs, are often really subtle, so they can be missed by the owners. And it leads to the cat having to use really obvious signs using chemical communication. That's when you often get the urine spraying and the kind of more overt aggressive behaviours that are impossible to miss.
Yes.
But there might have been a lot bubbling under the surface for a while between the cats that's been missed by the owners.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I think a lot of people think, well, I go to work every day and the cat's all by themselves all day, and they feel a bit sorry for them and think, well, they must need some company. And your cat is 100% absolutely fine with their own company. Thank you very much. Yeah. And I think that I speak to a lot of people who have got more than one cat. And it's interesting how many conversations I have where they're like, oh no, they don't really like each other very much. Or, oh, every time Fluffy passes Timmy bops Fluffy on the head. And it's, you're right, it's those we'll notice a bop on the head, but even one cat walking past another while the other cat watches them can be like super stressful, can't it?
Yeah, it's like proper daggers, shooting daggers, and what a way to live. I see lots of cats that are really walking on eggshells, living with another cat companion that might just, like you say, eye contact, in cat body language can be really threatening, as can just kind of body blocking. So cats will often sit and position themselves in places to block another cat's access to rooms of the house, or litter trays, or any resources like that, and just kind of controlling their movement around the territory. So that can be really stressful for cats.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't appreciate is quite stressful. So cats, because of their megalomaniac tendencies, they want to do what they want to do when they want to do it, don't they? So if they decide they want to go and have a nibble from the food bowl, they want to go and have a nibble from the food bowl. And if they go up to the food bowl and the other cat is there, and then they have to make that decision, do I eat, which I really want to do, but because I hate everything and everybody, or well, sort of, I don't want to share, I don't want to go and eat with them, what do I do? Do I go into a very stressful situation and share? That's the other thing cats hate doing. They hate to share, like they're like siblings, no sharing. Or do I walk away? And both of those decisions are really stressful, aren't they? Because I think that's the other thing, is that, we, again, it's that what we think, but what our cats think. So the other thing I tell people is think what you like, about what you like. Your cat probably hates that. They probably like the opposite. Yeah. So we like sitting down together with our family members and our friends and sharing a meal. We will sit around a table and we will eat, and that's kind of fun and nice. And dogs don't mind that too much, do they? But cats, that's really not something they're keen on, is it?
Yeah. So that's going back to the kind of obligate social, we're social feeders. Dogs are social feeders. Cats are generally the opposite of that. So and it's about giving them the choice, at least, isn't it? So if we can at least give them the choice of whether to eat, there might be a feeding station near each other, but there also might be the choice of them being able to eat away from each other, and just observing what choices your cat makes. You might get quite a lot of information by just giving them more options and then observing what they choose to do.
Yeah. Give them a choice, let them decide, then we just go with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That little meme that says that dogs have friends and cats have servants is very true, isn't it?
Yeah.
I listened to a really, really interesting podcast the other day with a feline behaviourist about litter trays, because some cats poop in the house. And she said, if you want to decide, if you've got a cat who's not using the litter tray properly, it might be lots of reasons, but one reason might be that they just don't like the litter that you've given them. So go out and buy a bag of every kind of litter and leave
and do a test.
And see which one they use. And and then she said, and some of them like to wee in one kind and poo in the other kind. You just think, well, the house will just be full of litter trays. But this is the thing, isn't it? Cats are very particular. They're very fussy. This will come to there's no surprise to anyone who's got a cat, but I think sometimes we just don't think about it. They're very particular, they're very fussy. And they just, they know what they like and they like what they know, don't they?
And they hate change. So anything that we do implement in terms of giving them more choice, you kind of have to do it quite gradually, because if you do it really suddenly and their routine changes, that throws them as well.
Yeah.
And they're very clean, they love clean litter trays. That can be another cause of inappropriate or undesirable toileting behaviour, is because the tray is not clean enough. Like you said, it could be wrong position, wrong litter, wrong type of tray, wrong location, wrong lots of things, it does take
if we accept we're going to get it wrong, then we're probably starting off on the right foot, aren't we? Okay, so let's take it back. Let's say if you have got a cat, just one cat in your household living on their own who seems quite settled, do they need a friend? Is that emotional, what's the word, when we put emotional putting of our emotions on them, is that the right thing?
So they might they don't need a friend, but they might, if it's the right sort of cat temperament, they might do okay with a friend, or they might learn to really bond with another cat. But the way that we do those introductions is vital for the potential relationship that could develop from it. So what we wouldn't do is just bring a cat home and put them together and let them sort it out for themselves.
Yay, you have a new friend. Here's your friend. Okay, bye now. Yeah, so first off, your cat doesn't necessarily need a friend. If you decide to get another cat, that's on us, isn't it? And then what we have is the situation of helping our cats live well together.
Yeah.
Now, the other situation you sometimes get is obviously people will buy 2 kittens together, won't they? So, and they do tend to bond, don't they? So litter mates or kittens that have been, you know, brought up together from very small do tend to get on, don't they?
It's the best chance of success.
Yeah.
Say, yeah.
And what, if you have got 2 cats, what are the signs that they are getting on?
Bonded, yeah.
How do you know if your cats are friends?
So the general rules would be that they mutually groom each other. They will greet each other with nose touches or facial rubbings, or their tails might entwine. They'll sort of rub their scent on each other, so their bodies will rub up against each other. And they will often sleep curled up in physical contact with each other. So that's very different to one cat sleeping here on the bed and the other cat sleeping here on the bed. But they're actually, there's lots of scent swapping going on. So lots of scent contact and physical contact going on between them.
So cats who like each other do a lot of physical contact. Cats who don't like each other or aren't totes besties, you might not get out and out scrapping, but you probably won't get them ever really touching or talking to each other.
Yeah, well, it can be one directional as well. So I'll often see one cat in a household that grooms the other or goes and lies next to the other, but it's never reciprocated. So it's kind of tolerated one way or not tolerated one way, and the other, it's a bit sad.
Please be my friend, please be my friend. Okay, cool. So if we have got, so how do we set up our houses for our cats to give us the maximum chance of our cats being happy living together if we have got more than one cat?
Multi-cat household, the biggest tip I would say is to have numerous resources, plentiful resources, and distributed around the house. So not just 3 litter trays next to each other in a row, because that just counts as one massive litter tray. So you want to make sure that there are one resource of everything the cats need. So 1 litter tray per cat in the house plus an extra one. And I would also have that rule for water bowls and feeding stations as well. And that those resources are also separated from each other. So cats won't like to eat or drink next to where they toilet. They also don't really like to eat and drink next to each other. So water, food and litter trays should all be distributed away from each other and plentiful supply, so that, like your example earlier where a cat is hungry, if they're both hungry at the same time, they can both go and find feeding stations or toileting places at the same time if they need to, away from each other.
Yeah, I think that, and I think some of that is fair enough. You know, you stick a litter tray in the corner. Who wants to use a dirty toilet? You know, so if someone has come and done a poo and then you fancy doing a poo, you probably don't want to use the same toilet. And if somebody is already on the toilet,
you don't want to wait your turn.
See them on the toilet.
Yeah.
Even if there's another toilet, mind you, I think in some nightclubs you do get 2 toilets in one cubicle, but I've never really understood that. I seem to remember that from my younger days. But you don't really want to sit and have a social time on the loo, do you? And neither do our cats. So I think maybe some of the ways we do think alike. So yeah, what I've started to say to people is not 2 litter trays, but 2 toileting locations, I think. Yeah, is a phrase that I've started to use now to help people, to help cat owners understand that if we're going to have litter trays, they're going to have to be spread out. Yeah. And absolutely the same goes for food and water, because you don't want to have your dinner next to your toilet. That's not an unreasonable thing. I think a lot of people, you know, they have their utility room, don't they? And in the utility is the cat food bowl, and that's where the cat goes, in the utility room, and the cat's like, oh, this is hideous. Yeah. But then, and that's one way we make our cats' lives really difficult, is because we say, oh, okay, pussycat, we love you. This is your space. keep your nasty, smelly poos and your food in this space. I can shut the door and I can just, you can shut it off the rest of the house. But they don't want to go in there, but they have to go in there because we've not given them any other option.
Yeah.
And that's when we start to see difficulties. So spread everything out.
Spread everything out. And the other tip would be, and this is for all cats as well, even if they're a solitary cat in a house, my other tip would be to remember that they are a prey species as well as a predator species. And the prey part of them needs opportunities to get up high. So they need to be able to climb and get off the floor, and they need hiding places as well. And that's also really important in a multi-cat household where there might be a bit of subtle conflict going on. They need to be able to avoid each other and feel safe. But it can also be true, in a house where there's dogs or kids or visitors that come in, or anything like that, that cats need to be able to know that they can get up high, or that they've got nice little hidey holes to visit if they need to.
Exactly. I think that's one thing, again, that we don't appreciate, is that we think of our cats as, like you say, predators, claws and teeth and hunting and all of that.
Yeah.
But they are also vulnerable themselves to attack, aren't they? From other cats and from, potentially in the wild, from other animals. Not so much, in the garden, but still they have that instinct, which isn't going to go away. And then I think the other thing is that cats don't look out for each other, do they? Each cat is their own inch, aren't they? So like in a pack of dogs or in a herd of horses, you can have a rest, you can sleep knowing that your mates will keep an eye out, won't they? But that's not the case for cats, is it?
No, because they are generally, they're evolved from a solitary species. So they don't have that feeling that someone is looking out for them. Yeah,
exactly. I think that's a really important point. They are solitary, so they don't. Isn't it? Is it right that the only cat that lives in a social group is the lion? Is that right?
I don't know if it's the only cat, but it's certainly, it's a different evolutionary line to our domestic cat, which has evolved from a solitary creature. It doesn't mean that our domestic cats have to be solitary. They can make friends, but they're not obligate social creatures.
No. They don't. Each cat is their own castle, aren't they? And so that's why it's so important that I have, again, it's a conversation I have a lot. Cats feel secure up high, because when they're in a tree or on the top of the bookshelf or wherever they are, they're protected and they can see what's coming, and they can keep their eye out. So yes, resting up high. That's why those cat trees, those enormous cat trees, are really actually quite a good thing if you've got the room, aren't they?
Yeah, brilliant. And I often just say to people, just create access to shelving or clear some space off shelving and actively encourage your cat to be able to use it. Put some food up there or some treats up there so the cat realizes it can access them. Or you might, if you're good at DIY, put some more kind of shelving in, just anything that's off the floor. Any kind of access route that doesn't involve walking through the middle of a room is really hard for cats. Most cats.
Yeah. They don't like a cat walk. They don't want to walk where you can see them. They want to hide. I mean, it's that thing, isn't it? Every so often on my Facebook, look at this mad cat house in America, and there's like walkways and like stuff all over the walls and like bridges and stuff, and everyone's like, oh, look at these mad cat people. But actually what they've built is a cat
amazing heaven. Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess the responsibility is on us as pet owners, that if we've got a cat and we want another one, or we've ended up with, you've moved in with your boyfriend and now you've got cat children between you, and you each brought one cat to the relationship or whatever. It's our job, isn't it, to make their lives easier and more pleasant.
It is. And also if we don't look out for our cats in the best way from a feline perspective, as you will know more than anyone, the end result could be lots of medical issues that result from stress in cats, because they often internalize their stress, or they are explicit in their stress in terms of that's when you get urine spraying, you can get the over grooming, you can get the, you know, cystitis related problems, you know, all sorts of medical issues that can come from it. So yeah, it is our responsibility, and we have cats because we love them and we want to do our best for them, don't we?
Exactly. And I think that, yes, and that's the other thing that I tell people when I see a cat with a stress related problem, like you say, like they get cystitis, which can develop some quite serious complications for boy cats particularly, where they can end up with a problem where they physically cannot wee. They're so stressed and their bladder's just gone, and then the poor boy cannot wee at all because he's just so stressed. They internalize everything. You know, the dogs, as soon as a dog's feeling poorly or a little bit, they'll come to us and they'll talk, you know, we can see they're very demonstrative. They'll come and seek our reassurance. They'll tell us they're not feeling very well. Whereas the cats just go, I'm okay, I'm fine, everything's fine, leave me alone, I do not wish to talk to you, you know, until they can no longer cope, and whoosh, they've suddenly got health problems, which, you know, as cat owners, we often think, wowzers, that's come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But actually, there is there's an issue there, isn't there?
Yeah.
So to make a cat paradise, we need 1 litter tray per cat and 1 extra.
Yeah.
So 2 cats, 3 trays, all in very different locations. Where is a good location for a litter tray? So where is the ideal place?
Generally speaking, a quiet place, so not your thoroughfare where the kids are coming in and out and, you know, they're dumping their bags and their scooters, and so somewhere quiet, that's not a thoroughfare, and that generally they're not going to get interrupted or disturbed when they're going to the loo. But again, it can take a little bit of trial and error to find a cat's personal preference of their toileting location. But again, if you've got 2 or 3 locations, they can then choose where to go.
Exactly. Everybody wants to pee in peace.
That's generally
nobody wants to be watched. Oh, look what you're doing. And what do you think about covered litter trays? Because obviously they're very popular, aren't they? Keep it all enclosed, keep the smells in, all of that. So and obviously if a cat doesn't want to be looked at, that kind of seems like quite an ideal thing. Are they good? Are they not good? What's your opinion?
Again, it's really individual. So the advantages are it's private, it's dark, it can be a secure environment, but you need to be really careful that the smell is more intense in there from the cat's perspective, which can be off-putting. And if there are other cats in the household, or dogs or kids, that cats might find it like running the gauntlet trying to get out of the enclosed litter tray, out of the door at the end of it. So sometimes I'll say take the door off, so that at least the cat coming out can keep an eye and see what's out there. Again, sometimes it's just trial and error where you offer it, it's another choice, and you see what your cat has a preference for. The biggest thing with trays, I would say, is that they're generally not big enough. So the commercial litter trays, whether covered or uncovered, are generally way too small for the average size cat. But that's going on to a whole nother topic.
Yeah. So really, it's much more convenient if the cat goes outside.
Yes.
If you have the opportunity for them to go outside, that's obviously going to be better. And so if you have got conflict in a house, or if you are thinking about introducing a house, this live stream is being sponsored by Feliway, which is a product that I regularly recommend to my clients. And I know you used it as well. So how would we use something like Feliway in this situation to help cats feel better and happier?
Yeah, so again, if we go back to how cats will communicate via scent communication all the time, a lot of the time, you know, the majority of their communication, or a vast amount of it, is by scent communication. And they do that via depositing of pheromones. So their cheeks have pheromone glands that when they rub their cheeks on things, they're in a happy emotional state, and that leaves this pheromone deposit as communication to themselves. It's kind of like a reassurance to themselves. So the Feliway, the classic, is that pheromone that we are basically making their core territory filled with this happy pheromone scent. So that can be really useful for any potential upheaval, anything that might be a minor stressor for your cat. So house moves, redecoration, visitors, anything like that. Super, super useful.
So it just kind of underlines happy.
Yeah.
And hormones is not quite the right word, but happy pheromones. It makes it smell as if the cat's already been round and gone, I'm okay, this is cool, I'm fine. And so the whole house or the whole room because they're like Glade plugins, aren't they? Plug-in, so the whole house is, that space smells like the cat's like, oh, this is cool, I'm cool, we're all cool.
But it's not a smell that we can't pick up on it, so it doesn't smell, does it? As you know from having it in
No, and it doesn't have any effect on us either. I put the Feliway in and thought, oh, this is so relaxed.
I'm waiting for the human version. But so because it's a pheromone, it's species specific, so only cats will pick up on it. And then the other product that's brilliant that Feliway have is the Feliway Friends, which if you've got multi-cat household, that is the pheromone that the mum produces when she's lactating her kittens, that make the kittens feel safe and secure and calm and want to be with her. So the multi-cat one is the Feliway Friends one, and that can be really useful for just helping with those introductions and with those relationships forming in the best possible way. Again, we're just giving it the best chance of success by having one of those plugged in as well. And you can use both. So if you've got a bit of stress, but you're also trying to introduce cats, you can use both in separate areas of the house.
And they don't cancel each other out. They don't affect each other. So you just the classic Feliway allow them out, making them feel sort of I describe it to people as bringing their anxiety down a couple of notches.
Exactly. Yeah.
The only thing that I would say about Feliway is that I get a lot of people who come to me, I tried that, didn't work. And I'm like, you can't just plug it in and walk away and leave your litter tray next to your food bowl in the hall where the kids are dumping their coats and, 2 cats sharing one food bowl. You have to, it is part of a solution, but I think it's like, if you're using something like that, it's like adding 2 and 2 and getting 5.
Exactly.
And it makes it just so much better. Okay, we've been chatting a while, but one thing I thought I did want to just cover is what about strange cats? So like, what's about in the garden? So we've talked a lot about how to make your house lovely. What about those cats who are going outside into the garden? How do we make the garden a nice space for them to be?
Yeah, good point. So you're right that a lot of the stresses that cats encounter is from outdoor kind of despotic cats, the neighborhood bully that comes in, and we've all got them around. In fact, I think one of my cats is one of those despotic bullies. So we need to make sure our cats feel safe when they go outside, and the first point of that is the exit point from the house into the garden. So again, you don't want your cat feeling like they've got to run the gauntlet through this cat flap, not knowing if that horrible neighborhood cat is out there watching or waiting for them. So it's looking at that exit point around the cat. Well, first of all, making sure your cat flap is a chip one that other cats cannot come in through.
Yes, I've got one of those. Yeah,
very
really
important.
useful.
And secondly, making sure that when they do go out through that cat flap, that they then have somewhere to hide behind or somewhere to hop up onto. So again, the hiding in the high places, so that they can suss out their territory, at the outside territory, and check who's there.
Again, that's where somebody handy, a DIY person comes in, because I often say that, have you got someone with a drill that can just, make a platform?
Or just move your flower pots round the cat flap so they can hide behind one, move to another one. So gardening or DIY, and you're all right. And then again, just making sure that the garden is as cat friendly as possible. So again, there's bushes, there's things to hide behind, or garden tables or chairs to hop up or onto. And you might want to deter other cats from coming in by planting maybe prickly bushes up over your fences or your walls. It's hard, we can't control. That's the thing about cats, isn't it? There's other memes that say you can't control. Cats will do what they like and go where they like. That's the independence of them. But as long as, that's the other thing, as long as we make sure that they've got all the resources they need in the house, the cat only then goes outside because they want to go outside, not because they need the toilet or they're thirsty. They're going outside, again, it's their choice, not a necessity to go outside, and then they're in that conflict position where they really need the loo, but they're really scared of the neighbourhood cat being out there. So
would you suggest that even if your cat does go outside and does toilet outside, to give them a litter tray option inside anyway?
Yeah, pretty much a rule for every cat owner. And again, it's the choice. So have the tray inside, and if your cat uses it, that's probably information as to why they might use it. It's probably to do with safety, perception of safety, and where it might be to do with substrate, but it's information. You can try and recreate whatever it is that they like outside, but yeah, it could be that they just feel safer inside. And again, it's a prevention of undesirable toileting that could develop if we don't offer that tray in the house. So for all cats, I'd offer a tray. Yeah,
I think sometimes cats are seen as quite an easy pet. Which, to be fair, in many ways they are, aren't they? I have a cat, and he is an easy pet. As long as I keep him fed, he's quite happy. The only time he ever gets unhappy is when I don't feed. But there is quite a lot, there's more to think about than we appreciate, isn't there?
Yeah.
So let's see, we've covered litter trays, food bowls. Oh, I tell you the other thing that I despise, and I'm sure you despise as well, is those super handy little food bowls and water bowls all in one.
Yeah.
All in one. So when it comes to water, what about water and food?
So again, if we look back to the African wildcat, which is what our domestic cats have evolved from, they generally won't choose to take their food near to a water source because there's a risk of tainting that water source if they've got a manky mouse or something. So generally cats will prefer to eat and drink apart from each other, and that's often why cats will come and drink from the water glass next to our bed, because the only other option is the one that's in the multi-food water bowl. So yeah, providing separate food and water, and also they can be really particular about the water vessel itself. So metal can taint the flavour of the water. It gets quite a metallic taste. So generally they'll prefer porcelain, ceramic or glass vessels.
You must serve my water in a porcelain dish. Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah, I'm getting that from my cat.
Yeah. And wide, because they don't like their whiskers touching the sides, and full to the brim so that they can carry on surveying their territory when they drink. They don't have to lower their head into it. So all sorts of all these tiny little things that often add up in a cat's stressors. Yeah. They're tiny things to us. And they might be small things to a cat, but add them on top of the other, and you can end up with this, quite stressy cat.
Exactly. And what I hear, and again, I get told this a lot. Oh no, I provide him with fresh water, but he goes and chooses to drink out of the dirty puddles outside. And we all have a bit of a chortle about how that's typical cats.
Yeah.
But again, it's true, isn't it? Those puddles are not near their food, so they're not tainted potentially. Because obviously if you catch a rat near to a pond, it's probably pooed and weed in that pond, like you say, they can't. It's interesting that you say that they can survey the area. I've always thought it's because they didn't want to get their whiskers wet.
Let's be honest.
I've learned something new. I say, but they don't want to get their whiskers wet. And so those food bowls that are, two together are just useless, or put food in both sides, or just use one side. But if you put two food, again, but don't be tempted to think that two food bowls on one mat in the corner of the kitchen is enough if you've got two cats. Again, it's about spreading it out, isn't it? So, one food bowl at either end of the kitchen, water bowls in different corners, litter trays somewhere else. Yeah. So, if your cat lives in your house, you can't just put everything in the utility and say that's the cat's room, can you? You have to spread these things out, and the cat has to have the choice because, you know, like we said at the top of this, they are tiny little self-centered megalomaniacs who need to have, you know, what they want when they want to do it. And I think once you've got that in your head, everything else makes so much more sense.
Yeah, they're control freaks basically, aren't they? That's it and all about it.
That is the word. They're control freaks, and they, you know, they, as long as they feel, and I guess that's it, isn't it? As long as our cats feel like they're in control, again, when you've met a few cats, you figure out this all sorts to make an awful lot of sense when you really think about it.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, we really are.
They're happy.
We are their servants, but we have to be their servants as well, don't we? I guess.
Yeah.
You know, which is the point of being a good cat owner, isn't it? When at the end of the day, that's the point, isn't it? We have the animals because we love them and we want to spend time with them and we enjoy snuggles, but we've got to have that responsibility. Which brings me to some, which has just reminded me of one other thing, just before we finish, because we've been chatting about half an hour now, is what about physical contact with people? How, because my cat just despises it. And he'll come and he buffs up against my legs. Oh, hello, nice to see you. So I scoop him up and I'm like, and he's just like, he hates it, but I do it anyway. And I know it annoys him. And then I put him down. But how, you know, we want to snuggle them because they're so snuggly. How do our cats feel about that? And what do they wish that we knew?
Well, I think it comes back to, I think it led on quite nicely there, Kat, because I think it comes back to that control. As soon, what you just described is when it's his choice and he's in control of it, he's loving it. And as soon as you take the control away from him, he's like, hold on a minute. And they feel vulnerable and they panic and they, you know, so again, it's about that control and letting the cat instigate it if possible, not disturbing them if we can help it when they don't want to be, when they're doing their own thing, inviting them over to us. And some cats, you know, those cats as well, that they're loving being stroked and then all of a sudden out of the blue they turn around and they've got your hand.
Yes.
And again, I think that's this, there will be very subtle signs often that the cat is starting to just get a bit tetchy or fed up with the interaction and it's not been picked up on. So again, I normally say to people with cats like that particularly, to have like a 3-second rule where they might touch them for a couple of seconds where they know the cat likes and then stop and see what the cat does. Do they really obviously reinstigate that contact, you know, with the head rubbing, oi, get back here.
Or they do that thing where they put their paw out and go, nope, more. Yeah. And that just makes you just explode, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or do they just happily lie there quietly thinking, thank goodness they've stopped? So you're kind of asking them the question all the time, is this okay? Are you enjoying it? And the other thing that we often forget is that you often use perfumes or aftershaves and we stink from a cat's perspective. Remember that they navigate their world a lot through scent and then we go and hug them and it's like having that horrid cuddle from your great aunt Bethel who just so yeah, remembering that from the cat's perspective.
It's all making a lot of sense now.
Yeah. If possible, let them instigate it, ask them if they're enjoying it and respect them when they are giving those subtle signs that they're not.
And that's probably why they go and sit on the person that likes them the least.
Exactly.
Because that person's like, I'm not touching this cat, I'm not touching this cat. And the cat's like, this is fabulous. I'm sitting, enjoying some contact, but they're not trying to smother me with love.
I use the analogy like when I'm sitting on the sofa with my husband of an evening, I wouldn't want this, I would snap at him, but I do like his company and to sit with him, and you know, so I think cats are quite similar. I'm obviously a cat in another life.
Yeah, I've got some quite cat-like qualities on that score. Brilliant. Right, Rosie, I think we'll finish there because we've been chatting for quite a while now. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks also to Feliway for sponsoring this video. It is a product which, as professionals, Rosie and I both recommend on a very regular basis.
Yeah.
And if you want to find out more about Rosie and follow her on socials, it's Pet Sense, isn't it? Pet Sense on Facebook and also on Instagram.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah.
This is something which I'm hoping to get to do more regularly. We're calling it Chatty Tuesdays, and Rosie and I will be back at some point in the future, and we're going to do exactly the same chat about dogs and also one about rabbits as well. So stay tuned. Follow us on our socials. We will tell you when those things are happening. And thanks ever so much, Rosie. It was lovely to see you again.
Me.
And chat soon. Bye.